My name is Nikhil. I actually work in the technology sector. I'm with this company called Zest Money, which is into consumer finance.
Right.
I am heading the product team at Zest Money. Tanvi and I recently got married.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just before the pandemic hit, actually, barely by a week.
Just at
Wow.
the brink of it.
So you got the timing right, huh?
In a way, yes, sir. We just escaped the lockdown, but
Right.
once we got married, the lockdown started. So naturally, the entire family was together, and
Right.
many plans got delayed for people to
That is true.
from the country also. Initially, it felt like a blessing that we're all together,
Yes.
but the pandemic had started, and in Delhi, a lot of cases were increasing at the time.
That is true.
My father is also a doctor in
Mhm.
a government hospital in New Delhi, Dr. Ram Manohar Lohiya Hospital.
Right.
So naturally, he was amongst the only people who were still going to work.
I see.
And we were aware that we are all exposed to some degree, of course, even though we're in the house, we are maintaining all precautions. But because Papa goes to work, there is
Correct.
a certain degree of risk to
Of course.
everybody in the house. Yes. So, how we realize the degree of severity around this disease and the seriousness around the disease is when it came to our own home.
Mm.
And that's when things changed for us. Till one day before, it was just something that's in the news and stats are increasing every day. Delhi, the
Just
cases.
a number that we'd
Yeah.
see on the screen,
And
right?
at that
Yes.
time, it was thousands. It sounds
Mm.
ridiculous. Now we're dealing in lakhs. And at that point, it was thousands, and daily numbers were increasing. Suddenly, my father, he developed fever while he was at hospital.
Okay.
And he decided to get tested immediately. And he came home, he isolated himself. He told us, don't come to my room. I've got myself tested. We need to wait for the report.
Right.
Within the next 24 hours, we found out. Up till that point, sir, it's something that we don't want to believe. It's a
Mm.
natural human reaction. We
True.
felt that it could be something else, maybe. And we've heard
Yes.
so many people who talk to us, they want to believe maybe it's some other flu.
Right.
So my dad got his positive report, and surprisingly, till then, nobody was symptomatic.
Mm.
We all decided as a reflex, okay, we're all exposed, we should get tested as well. And my father was decided to be in home isolation. He decided,
Correct.
okay, I'll be here only until it, he develops any more symptoms. Till then, he had a fever and a mild cough. So within the next 24 hours, we got tested, and if you can imagine, it was literally it was like 12 hour difference. Everybody started getting symptomatic one after
Oh.
another. It's like the entire disease just blanketed our house.
So how
And
many people were in the house?
Sir, how many were first? 6 people total.
yeah, 6 people in total.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is
So,
despite taking all precautions at all, because we knew that Papa was exposed. So every time he would take all precautions to like sanitize himself. We would stay away, stay in our own areas, keep washing our hands. But the speed at which this
it's the
spread,
speed at which symptoms started developing for everybody. And
Mm.
that is when we realized how serious this is. And even up till the first 2-3 days, my parents were both at home. They had mild fever. We just instinctively decided, let's not take a chance, because my father is a high risk profile. He has diabetes, hypertension, and he has a history of cardiac also,
Okay.
cardiac illness. So, and my mom is uncontrolled diabetes. So at this age, they're both 60 plus. Natural, how most of our parents have lifestyle diseases. So we decided, okay, let's be more watchful, because at that point, so we were just reading about it. We were getting
Mm.
acquainted with the disease. New facts were starting to come up. And I had recently read about how thrombosis is a very huge risk factor, which
So
was
this was all in March, right?
this was in May,
this was
sir.
in May.
This was
May.
in May.
Okay.
So that is when, sir, things were increasing in Delhi, actually.
Right.
Right. So that is at the point when my father's fever came down, we got relaxed naturally, but then it came back again. We took a decision they should both get admitted, and now retrospectively thinking, we're very glad that he was in a hospital rather than at home, because things worsened for him within 12 hours, as less as 12 hours. And he didn't have any signs of breathlessness or anything, but we could see a change on his face. There was definitely a difference in even in his orientation, how he was able to respond to things. Something was wrong, and we could all tell. So our story got inspired around the time when the doctor told us things are looking bad, we need to try some other form of therapy. And this is when remdesivir was also not in India yet.
Right.
The pharma companies had just acquired the license to manufacture it. And we're blessed, sir, because we're in a network of doctors and we already have people around us who could put us in touch with people, help
Yes.
us. At least we had that outreach. So they helped us get in touch with the right doctors. They helped us get in touch with the people who could help us get remdesivir if needed. And at the same time, we had chosen a hospital close by to us, keeping in mind all treatment modalities should be available. Maybe
Right.
just by virtue of being more informed, because we were reading more about it, we knew there are options of plasma therapy, which were just coming up in Delhi.
Right.
Even at that time, all hospitals didn't have it. Only 2 hospitals had it.
That
AIMS,
too on clinical trial.
yeah, it was on clinical trial. Only AIMS had it, and Max Saket had it. At that. So naturally, of course, when things started getting bad, the doctors discussed with us, and they had already given him high-dose steroids and tocilizumab.
So
And
when
they
you say
started,
things started getting bad, how bad was it?
sir, so he in his second week, actually, that is when things started getting bad. His fever did not subside till about day 8, day 9.
Okay.
And we were told that at this age, and plus if you have any risk factors, it could happen that the fever goes on till 8th, 9th day also. And let's wait till around 12 days, it will come down around then. And his
Right.
markers were also increasing steadily around then. Then one evening, it just took like, maybe it was, I think it was day 10. That is when, with it from morning to evening, suddenly he deteriorated a lot. Visibly, he could barely speak. And on the SpO2 monitoring, it was showing around 94%, 95%.
Wow.
So I had a very high index of suspicion, because I felt, why should a person who has SpO2 97, 98 usually suddenly go to 95, 96, and I should accept it as normal.
Right.
We decided to keep, more on the side of precaution and just keep following him closely. Even then, his X-ray did not show any changes, but clinically we could see he's totally different.
Yeah.
Right.
Overnight, sir, his hypoxia worsened, and by morning he was hovering around 87%.
My God.
Yes, and my mom, the way she could only explain to us was that I can tell Papa's lips are blue. He can barely stand. He's not able to go to the washroom also. These are like things how they can explain to us.
Correct. Correct.
And this is in the setting of when we cannot visit them.
We're all
Isolated.
within our own rooms.
We were all sick. We all had tested positive. We were all in separate rooms. We couldn't talk to each other or meet each other. It was all fully on video calls. We had ordered in sanitizer stands, and relatives were helping us with food. So that is all another story, how we coped with that situation within the house. But our primary focus was mom, dad, because both of them had to go by themselves and get admitted by themselves at the hospital with no assistance. It was really a painful ordeal to even imagine. And
You mentioned 6 people in the house. So who were the other two?
I'll tell you, sir. So my parents and Nikhil and me, my sister and my brother were in town because of our marriage. They couldn't leave. So everybody was there. They couldn't. They both stay outside of India, and flights were cancelled around the end of March.
Yeah.
So they couldn't also leave from India. They were in the house as well. And we gone to visit them. That is when all of us, then we were just...
That's when the lockdown also got announced. And
so we were kind of stuck together. So that's how it all happened. And we were waiting for flights to open up, and finding out every day what's the latest, because things were just changing every week. State lockdowns were initiated and so many things happened. But just at the cusp of things starting to open up in Delhi or around Delhi, all this happened in the house.
Right.
So for us, the timelines got pushed way more.
So coming back to your dad.
Right. So there was 6 of us. That's how it was, 6 of us together. And my parents were in the hospital. My father had to be shifted to the ICU then because he was on high flow oxygen.
Right.
And they at that point they had already started with high dose steroids and they had given him tocilizumab also. Other than that, they were giving him oral antibiotics up till then. They had not tried anything else for him, and they were cautious also. They said we don't want to give too many fluids. There's nobody even able to monitor in person because they had a in-house policy that senior doctors will not come and visit the patients. So they were very wary of giving treatment, how much
Yes.
they're able to give also. They had started them on anticoagulants because the D-dimers were also raised. So these things were all instituted. Then they decided to try for plasma therapy, and they informed us that this is on clinical trial only, and we've seen some success in patients. Thankfully, in my father's case, they didn't wait for it to worsen further, and that I feel was a very wise decision. They decided to go ahead when on the CT he had moderate to progressing to severe COVID. So this is when he was still having oxygen requirement despite steroid therapy, and they decided to use plasma session at that point. Our faith in plasma therapy sort of got instituted when Papa had oxygen levels of 87 at night. He got the plasma. We were able to arrange it through our efforts of social media, use our network. We immediately put it online, and by God's grace, and I think my dad's goodwill more than anything else, within 15 minutes, we had 30 donors from all over the country who reached out to us, and they called us and they said, we're ready to donate. So many doctors, I have to thank, mostly it was doctors. So many of our colleagues from my residency time, so many people like that reached. He reached in his network. And it was really overwhelming and nice to see how people were so helpful.
Excellent.
So at that point, Max Hospital informed us that, okay, we have one donor had given incidentally that morning only for the same time. So they told us, okay, we have one within our in our stock also. We've confirmed it. With the first dose, he had a sudden improvement overnight in terms of hypoxia, I can tell you, and his general well-being. He had 87% at night, and the next morning it was 93%. So it is off oxygen I'm sharing, and his oxygen requirement also reduced. So he was at 6 liters at that point, and then it came down to 3-4 liters they were trying to maintain.
Right.
Then, he seemed better also, and my father being my father, we are able to gauge his activity. If he's online on his seminars, he was doing webinar even from there. I don't know how he had the, I don't know how he had the energy or will to do just that.
The moment he was feeling better, he started on his webinars.
We were joking about it. Is it the steroid effect or? So anyway, touchwood, we felt okay. This is him being himself. That's how family can tell. And unfortunately, what happened? The doctor talked with me in the afternoon. He said he seems to be doing better, but on a repeat CT scan, it seems that the infiltrates are growing. And it reflected clinically very fast by evening when his oxygen suddenly dropped again.
Oh my.
So of course we were in a state of frenzy because that is when helplessness had hit, and somehow I had spoken to somebody and arranged for remdesivir to arrive also. So by that effort and our connections, we got somebody to, okay, let's get remdesivir ready also. Just on that day it got announced. It's our luck, I think. Just that morning DGCI had given the approval.
Wow.
So, yes, sir. So even though we had got remdesivir, the doctors, they had their own meeting, and the pulmonologist and the ICU people, they decided, let's try for a second session of plasma because he did show response first time.
Correct.
And let's go for that and keep remdesivir as our last option because beyond that, they won't have any other option also. So they wanted to titrate it. And sir, after the second dose, I must tell you, within two days, he was completely fine. I don't know if it was a combined effect of everything, of course. I'm sure he had antibiotic coverage also going on by then. He bounced back, and in the next 3-4 days, he tested negative. And as per hospital policy, because he must test negative before getting discharged.
Yes.
He had a severe COVID. They discharged him. So that was our story. And
so he got 2 units of plasma.
2 units.
And remdesivir was not used.
Not used. So we gave it for somebody who can use it. We never had to use it for ourselves.
Right.
And the speed at which the recovery also happened, it's very strange to see somebody who had organized pneumonia and bilateral glass ground obesities. The clinical picture suddenly changed very fast. So whether that inflammation overall came down, that was happening from the viral response, or we don't know, it has to be a multiple factor effect.
Even steroids must have helped a lot.
So yeah, and we feel that maybe the plasma therapy helped him overcome that viral load that was probably his body was still struggling to overcome. And touch wood, he came out of it. My mother also came out of it. She never needed all these measures. So she had more of GI symptoms. So her issue was more of diarrhea. And thankfully, she never developed anything lung related. And touch wood, neither of them developed anything thrombosis related. So anticoagulants were started timely. All this, like, we really feel the value of it because we've experienced it. So that was our story, sir. It took us another 1 month to recover fully.
And during this period, sir, because we ourselves tried to reach within our network to arrange plasma, our social media posts, whatever outreach we had done, got far, very wide visibility. So as a result of this, other people who were looking out for plasma started reaching out to us, saying, were you able to arrange it? Did it really help you? How did you find it? Thankfully for us, we were able to find it before the situation escalated. But we realized that from this whole experience that it's not that easy. You get lucky sometimes and you're able to find a donor fast. But the ordeal that a family goes through when they are searching for plasma, when the need is extremely urgent, it's a very difficult situation to be in. And we would still, keep getting calls even a month down the line, seeing our post from towards the end of May.
Right.
At that time, COVID was hot news, and all of these modalities were just coming up. A lot of people saw it, whether they were patients in the same hospital or around Delhi NCR. They wanted to set up their own data registries. So many calls came regarding that also. And we were during our networking, like how I told you, sir, so many people reached out to us. So a few people even who were working as coordinators in Delhi at that time, they were volunteer effort, they reached out to us.
Nice.
And they said, we are helping mobilize plasma. And we'll help you get a donor as well. We've already connected the donor to Max Hospital also, and that's how we are doing our part. It's a volunteer effort. So I was very happy with that, and even till a time later when I kept getting requests, can you help us? I would just connect them to these set of people, the group of 3-4 people, that okay, they have like more information, you'll get in touch with them and they'll be able to help you. So we were ourselves in our recovery period for another 1 month. We were getting better ourselves, but we had a resolve that, of course, once we are fine and we are able to get back to our workplaces, let's initiate something and let's work on an idea in which we can reach out to people to be donors. Because until now, how people were working were they would connect recipients who are urgently looking in a time of panic and go and match it with a prospective donor. And the imbalance is that donors are, of course, much lesser. The need is much higher because you need to have recovered and at least crossed 28 days. At that point, it was also, then they introduced 14 days with a negative report. So these rules are also changing constantly. So at that point, finding people who have already recovered and been 1 month past it was not an easy task.
And then carrying out the donation process also, the tests required. It's a very urgent situation, right?
Yeah, so getting a person, like the logistics of it actually. And both of us, we realize our strengths are that, okay, I have a medical background, so I know this side of the story. I know really where all it takes time, from a resident's perspective also, from a prescribing doctor's perspective also. I know I can just arrange a donor, but what all a person has to go through is what we know from our family's experience now. So putting all that together and his technical expertise together, like how is the best way to put it forward, we decided it's best if we equip plasma banks and hospitals with donors in advance. So people like us who had to reach out and look for donors actively. It's a really humanitarian act that people came forward, but they have to take out time from their working schedule. Anybody has their own set schedule, and we respect that. For them to respond to that level of urgency in the same level, it's something that it's hard to expect also. They're already helping so much. Plus,
So marriages are made in heaven, and I think this is a classic example of
thank
how
you, sir.
heaven came together to put a doctor and a IT person in such
Right.
circumstances in such
So
a
we
way
are friends together, yes.
that you have, you have a connection, and then you have your own unique USPs in your respective fields, and then your personal experience identified the pain points at each step. So
Correct.
then you could develop this platform, and hats off to you for doing that.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
It's been relatively good for us because we wanted to test it out. How are people responding to elective donation, so to
Yes.
speak? Because through our experience, some of the donors were more interested, and there's also a trust factor. So they say that we would want to donate if there's an active urgent need.
Right.
We explained to them, see, this is where the lacuna is in the whole system. Once a patient needs it, you have to understand he really needs it. The urgency is what you need to get sensitized of. And the hours that pass by are grueling for the family, as well as the patient losing hours, of that
course.
much. That index is getting lost. So we started sensitizing the prospective donors about that, and we said, we assure you the need is so much. The moment you're going to donate, I assure you, by the time the blood bank can properly do a quality check of the antibody and they run all the proper tests, they'll ensure that it is safe for the patient also who receives it. And at the same time, anytime they'll get a request even from another hospital, it can immediately get dispatched.
Yeah.
Because hospitals, while they tell the patient family, we know this side of the situation also, sir. So we know the blood bank will reach out to other blood banks also. They'll tell the patient also to look for it if they don't have it within their own stock. So I explained to them how you're just helping them overtide that much time loss. And it's made all the difference, because now when our donors are coming forward and they are donating, we inform them that, okay, your unit has, we don't disclose where it got used and where it went, but we tell them that it has been used, it's gone.
Excellent. So
We
I
are
think
really
this is
trying
a
to
very
follow up.
important point that you have addressed.
Yes, sir.
That donors are willing to help, but they don't want their energy and effort to go waste.
Right.
Exactly.
You are giving them feedback, positive feedback, that it actually intended to, whatever was intended to be used, that actually happened.
Right,
So,
sir.
Nikhil, how did you develop the technology platform for this?
Yeah. So thankfully, sir, because I've been in this space for some time, I've had access to the technology or the skills required to do this. Thankfully, people in my network, so my own friends, they came forward and volunteered and took out their own personal time to stitch together various aspects of the platform itself. So there is a website, and then there's some designing that needs to get done. So all of that, thankfully, within my network itself, I was able to arrange for it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the content, that's how we worked on it. That because I'm associated with Manipal Hospital over here. I finished my residency over here in medical oncology, so I was in touch with the plasma bank, and more so because the moment we came to Bangalore, Nikhil was the first person to become a plasma donor in the hospital. So we ourselves, we were, our first resolve was to definitely donate.
Yeah.
So before the whole idea of a website or anything formalized completely, we knew that definitely we have to become donors.
Pay it forward and give it back.
Yeah. And believe in the concept that we're trying to propagate. So we went through the procedure ourselves. Unfortunately, my antibody titer was just above borderline. So they kept me as a backup option. And even around that time, sir, these rules were getting formulated that what is the correct cutoff titer for a good donor. So rampant usage had started everywhere as the idea picked up, and many places we had heard were not even testing for antibodies. They were just checking. Yes. So by virtue of our networking, we were in touch with so many platforms now, and we learned so much from our networking. It's amazing, just like power of knowledge, even through these things. So we got to know that people are testing without testing. They're taking donations just from recovered patients, and or they are testing, but they are only seeing if presence or absence. They're not actually doing a titer.
Right.
So at that point, even the ICMR guidelines were coming forward. Like once these trials also formalized that what is the correct titer that we should go for. And even at the hospital over here, they developed an indirect way of checking whether you have a good enough titer or not. So they told Nikhil that he has a strong titer, but mine is not so good. They immediately took him up for plasma donation, and that was great. We followed up that also, like it got used for another patient within the next 2-3 days in another hospital, and we followed how the patient is doing, how's the recovery, and patient actually came out of a severe COVID pneumonia. So we don't know if it's because of this again, sir, because it's anecdotal, but we're seeing changes in front of us.
But at every step, I can see that you are leading by example. You are
Yes.
not just preaching to somebody. You are actually doing it, experiencing it, and therefore I think everybody else has more confidence in what you are doing.
Probably, yes. Yeah, because actually that's been our forte, sir. Thank you for pointing out. When we speak to people, we always tell them, we share our own experience, and we tell them we've been through it, so we definitely know about it.
Yeah.
And all this happened once he was done with his donation. Then it was kind of like, it wasn't so easy because we've just been able to circulate within our set, like network, like Facebook, Instagram. These are the social media tools that we have. Then Manipal also eventually decided to launch their plasma bank, so they were kind enough to mention our website that okay, they didn't develop their own portal, they decided like we're going to use your portal. So I felt very good because being a student, at least they gave us that kind of access. And it was really nice, sir, because I told them that we'll be associating with other hospitals. We're doing this anywhere across the cities, wherever we can help. So they were very happy to help us, and it was really excellent and encouraging in that way. So far,
it is getting propagated. This when I talked to Vivek, he said that thanks to you, your effort and network and platform, he got connected to a patient in Apollo Hospital who required it. And then after he has donated, there are 10 other doctors from Calcutta who are also donating.
Isn't that amazing?
So it's a ripple effect, and everywhere the good work is, helping save lives of patients.
In fact, sir, the doctor community and the healthcare workers community have been our biggest evangelists also, because most of the voluntary donors that we see coming on the platform are from the healthcare community.
Right.
It's nice.
So on the platform, did you ever have difficulty of too much overload, bandwidth issues, and people not being able to access your website for any reason?
No, so far those issues we haven't faced. Anyway, we have set it up in a way that it is capable of handling scale. So it is all on Google Cloud.
Awesome. Excellent.
All the infrastructure
We've
is
done
in
it
place.
in a very simple, secure way, but at the same time, enough volumes can reach us, and we set up automatic emails also.
And the traffic must be going up all the time.
Traffic is going up, sir, but we can definitely use all the help with outreach, because now it's still within our network. So every time maybe we put out a post or put out a tweet, or someone within our network who's influential or has a network, so wide social media network, post something, then we see a spike. Then it again kind of plateaus and comes down. Then we again try to pump it up. So it's been going.
But we get very excited whenever we see one email in our inbox. Somebody has registered, because one automatic email will go to the donor also who registers. We reach out to them, and we get in touch with them within 6 hours of them registering. So we get happy when we see.
So when we want to popularize and convey the message about what you're doing, what are the contact details that you would like to share? For instance, email address, website, phone number, whatever. If you can just share that.
Yeah, we'll share that. So primarily, sir, the website link and our email address. Anybody can get in touch with us through those, and the website itself details out the entire platform, our motivation behind it, how to go about being a donor. What are the FAQs. So that's something that Tanvi herself,
I'm very happy,
has compiled. So all of these questions that prospective donor might have, she was able to work through them and preempt those questions, so they can read it themselves. And of course, if they have further clarifications, we are there to help out.
So we mentioned contact us, and the email ID is hello@amberhealth.in, and the website is also amberhealth.in. So
hello@amberhealth.in is the email to contact.
Email.
How much time do you spend every day, dedicated to this work?
Sir, it's time taking. I have to share that. It's because there's a lot of interaction.
Yes.
So the time taking part actually is the counseling bit of it. The donors who register by the virtue of the form itself, we've designed it in such a way that we get authentic registrations and people who are genuinely interested. So how try to inculcate the actual eligibility criteria of the donor within the form in a simple manner, so it's not exhaustive and they get bored and there's a dropout, because people, they don't want to take out the time to fill up a form. So keeping that in mind, but also keeping that it should not be a waste effort for the donor and for us. If at least entered those key set points, if you're definitely excluded, you cannot complete the form, and we'll get an intimation that somebody tried to fill the form, but for what reason they're not able to do it, they'll get alerted. And at the same time, once we get a registration, it means that the main criteria is already fulfilled. The patient is definitely COVID positive, they've had symptoms, and they're of the age criteria. If it's a woman, she's not been pregnant, and how long has it been since the positivity, since your last symptom. Those key points are there. So at a glance, when we look at the sheet that keeps getting filled, at a glance we can tell, okay, this patient is now ready, or we have a ticker, okay, now these many days are remaining and then this patient will be ready. Sorry, the donor will be ready. So we have those things in place which kind of simplifies for us how to categorize them. And there's a date that is marked out, and on that date, the donor is already told in advance that we're going to get in touch with you around here, because there are people who register while they immediately get diagnosed.
Yes.
The willingness is amazing. They've already decided we're going to be donors. Or there are people who are just in their recovery period and they just have to make that one extra week into eligibility criteria. Such cases are also there. We don't deny them, obviously. So there's a system in place how to keep a track, and then re-donations within 2 weeks, you are eligible to donate again. Everything is already spoken about. But of course, the speaking part, the talking and the explaining part, because people are not always from a medical background, obviously, and this is not something that everyone's fully read about also, and we're also learning. So many factors come into place, and it's very surprising because a lot of young people are registering. Maybe it's because of the, like the radius, the kind of network that we have, maybe because of that, I don't know. So it's either like professionals are there or a lot of young people are coming forward, which is very nice to see. So they have a lot of questions. They have very intelligent questions. They want to know all aspects of it. They also want to know how the plasma gets dispatched to the recipient. That has been one of the biggest questions. And of course, the cost factor, because many people are skeptical. What do we make out of it? And we cannot re-emphasize enough, this is fully volunteer and non-profit. We are just doing this on our own, and just to build that trust, because nobody will believe, and an intelligent mind will question, which we completely respect. So we have to give that much time for that rapport to develop, and that is the time taking part. The other aspect
you have thought of each and every minute detail, and you're true entrepreneur. This is a social enterprise. You're not making money out of it. But you are getting the satisfaction.
Yes,
But
sir.
as an outsider, if I look at it, I'm so impressed that you have spent time at each and every part, and this cannot be done on a spur of the moment. You must have spent hours together discussing, crashing out, talking to experts, and then developing. This is totally impressive.
Thank you so much for acknowledging that, sir. It
Thank
really
you,
means
sir.
a lot. We talk about it, what we earn out of it is goodwill and blessings. Really.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
most important, our parents are so proud of us. So
I'm
I
sure.
think
I'm sure. Not only your parents, I think all the patients who benefited, as well as all the donors who get on your platform, must be really proud of you. And whoever hears about the work that you are doing, they are totally impressed.
thank
So
you
I'm
so
so
much.
happy that we are interacting today. The recently ICMR has published a small article that says that there is no real evidence that plasma donation actually works.
Yeah.
Has that impacted the traffic or the requests on your website?
It has incited a lot more questions, but
Okay.
thankfully, I mean, if it's impacted the number of donors coming forward, we wouldn't know yet
Okay.
because the number of donors realistically are still one or two odd donations, and they get coupled a lot with recipient requests.
Correct.
Right.
So mostly when these things get publicized, sir, the donors are still not coming forward as much as recipients are seeking out help. That do you have a donor, and we get more caught into that situation.
Right.
And
Right.
the recipients will not question it because the doctor has told them this is required,
Correct.
the
Correct.
patient is in need.
And they are in desperate
They're
situation.
They're
desperate.
desperate.
They're not in
So,
a position, they don't have the luxury to question these things, and we
yes.
understand that. But the donors are the ones who say,
Mm,
but
mm.
is the therapy not effective? They will share the articles, it's all over the internet. So just two
Yes.
days back also, one of our donors who actually then went for a second donation after I spoke with him, he
Mm.
asked me that, is this true? Is it ineffective? The recent ICMR trial that got published. So I went through the trial myself also, and I read about it. I explained to him, see, my interpretation of it is it's an open label trial. And thankfully that patient, that donor is from a scientific background. So I can take the liberty of speaking with him in these terms.
Mm.
Otherwise, we
Mm.
simplify it even further. I told him that it does not have an impact on mortality, but they
Yep.
clearly tell that it reduces the viral RNA, it reduces the oxygen requirement, it reduces the fatigue related to it. What we need to appreciate it is giving a bridge for recovery. And maybe
Correct.
that is one way of interpreting it. If I had to carry on an initiative, I have to believe in it. And my belief is that it is not a redundant therapy. Apart
Right.
from belief, the scientific data that we're also seeing, unless there is a randomized control trial, which is very hard to achieve in a life-saving scenario like this, we don't know how many factors can they eliminate.
Very true.
There's so many other treatments that are going on. They're giving tocilizumab, they're giving antivirals. So we don't know the real impact of plasma therapy as of now.
Mm.
But definitely from everything that we've read about, even the US FDA, they've given an emergency authorization.
Correct.
Going by that data, sir, I feel there is still faith in it, and it is more of a bridge therapy rather than something that will
Absolutely.
reduce the mortality,
So
which is
you must have got a lot of publicity in the lay press, right? How many newspapers or media have carried your story?
so far our story itself.
I think very early on we had some coverage, but not directly linked to our platform itself.
Yeah.
And then when
So
Manipal
yeah.
actually launched their plasma bank, they were kind enough to mention that
So
they
there
are
was a
associated
mention because
with
they're
us.
using the website, they're asking donors to come and register on that. So there has been a mention of it. But our story itself, no, we
So
haven't
we
spoken.
have several medical journals, as you know, right? South Asian Journal of Cancer is there, Indian Journal of Medical Science is there, International Journal of Molecular and Immuno-Oncology, and Journal of Digital Healthcare. These are four journals where I am associated.
Right.
If you write something, we would like to publish it in our medical journal.
All right.
Also, in the journals below the article, there are some gaps, right? Maybe 4 line, 5 line space. So
Yeah.
we can put a news item also there, sharing whatever one sentence message, your website address and email address and all.
Right, sir.
So if you think that you have the time, then if you send that, we will make sure that it gets published also.
Thank you so much, sir, for the opportunity. We would love for that to happen. There have been references of our platform in indirect manners, like wherever a person who benefited from it or went ahead for donation, they've been kind enough to mention it. But yes, we've not had that the entity itself being named, and
Yeah.
okay, there is an entity like this, and come forward and donate. So it will be very useful.
That would
for
be very
us.
helpful.
Thank you.
And if you have any donor or a patient who wants to share their story,
Yes.
that
Absolutely.
will add a human factor to it, and that is more emotional. So that will generate better interest.
It's a success story when it comes
Yeah.
from them. So we
Yeah.
have also made a Facebook page which we're trying to propagate a lot more, because we realize Facebook has a more outreach rather than
Absolutely.
website, and people don't like to go for that click.
Mm, mm.
So on that Facebook page now we're seeing a lot of people are actually
Mentioning us and
they're
sharing
mentioning us,
us.
they're giving reviews, and they're sharing that, they're dropping DMs. There's so many ways of doing it. So
Right.
that has been one useful portal. It's amberhealth.in dash plasma donation.
Yeah.
That's the Facebook page. And it'll be great if we can put this forward.
So I can just think of a few topics. One is how you develop and what is included in the frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
Second is Nikhil talking about the technology that made the platform successful.
Definitely.
What is the coding done, what is the bandwidth, etc. Then something on the traffic and how the even now the number of requirements are far exceeding the number of donors. So what is the match in that?
Yes.
So some of these things, if you can write, we can publish 4-5 articles, and we will cross-reference each of them. Then even in the PubMed, the citation will go up.
All right, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So we have to do something, and any help you need from my side, more than happy.
Sure, sir. Thank
The
you.
last thing is what message you want to convey to society, to the lay people, if you can share that.
So a few things actually. First is, of course, please come forward, and we are encouraging COVID recovered people to become donors. It's really an act of humanity. It takes a day, and in the wider aspect of things, they realize it's so satisfying. Every donor leaves feeling very happy that they
Correct.
did something different from the usual that day,
Right.
and be able to help somebody. So first is that please at least explore the idea, if not fully commit to it. Register, have a conversation, be open-minded about it. Secondly, empathy. We would really want even the recipient family to be empathetic of the donors and the time that they're putting forward. And this is truly from our experience. We can
Correct.
say whatever little experience we have right now. They should have empathy even for the donors who are coming out and doing this selfless act. And it is not transactional at all. So everybody should help each other and respect each other's time and effort, and just be thankful that there are people out there who are able to help each other out. They're
Sure.
not getting anything out of it. So these three things, I think, just be helpful that something like this exists. There are people who are ready to come forward. There are people who are in need. Everybody should be kind to each other. Do you want to add something?
No, absolutely that. And I would encourage recipients and donors to also, talk about it. Because unless you talk about it, put it out there, more people are not going to find out. You don't know where your message is going to really reach. Like it might be that one person that discovers
And they benefit.
and they benefit out of it, right? So that's all that I would add to
Yeah,
it.
we request, like, please pay it forward, basically,
Yeah.
if you want to summarize.
So that gives me an idea. You have the contact details of all the donors and recipients, right?
Yes.
If you make a 3 or 4 question Google form and ask for their feedback,
Yeah.
on a scale of 1 to 5, how satisfied you were,
All right.
or what motivated you to that. Then from that survey, you can analyze, tabulate the data, and publish that, and that might also encourage more people to join.
Yes, I think that'll be very effective. Thank
Good,
you.
good,
Sir.
good. Thank
That's
you very
exactly
much.
that resonates with us. We're
Right,
happy with
right,
that
right.
feedback. Thank
So
you.
Tanvi and Nikhil, thank you so much for taking time out and sharing the wonderful, inspiring story that you have about how not only you fought COVID within your family, where all 6 of you were positive, but you also got motivated to do something that is helping the nation. We are now number 2 on the global scale as far as number of patients are concerned. People say that we will be number 1 soon. And here, whatever you're doing is actually saving the lives of the patient, reducing their morbidity, and you are getting the blessings of thousands and thousands of families. So
Thank you so much.
I'm saying thank you very much. This is really wonderful and inspirational story. And we'll write to give as much publicity to this as possible.
Thank you so
Thanks
much,
a
sir.
lot.
It means
Thank you.
a lot.
Please keep in touch, stay blessed, stay safe, and we'll do lots of things and we'll hear lots of new innovations from you in the future.
Thank you.
Hoping
Take
for
care.
the best, sir.
Take care.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and it's because of teachers like you we get encouraged. We're so happy, and you took out the time to personally reach out to us. I cannot express to you how much that means to us. Not many people do it. Thank
When I
you.
see what you have done and when I hear what has happened in the interaction, all I can say is that the future of India is safe in the hands of people like you.
Thank you.
That's very kind of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye, sir. Have a good day.